This is a Nissan Sentra, and it's not exactly the stuff that dreams are made of. It doesn't tell the outside world that you, as an owner, have an acute sense of style or a discernible sense of adventure, or, in this particular shade of white, any imagination. But it is a name that's been around for 30 years, so it must be doing something right. It was around 20 of those years ago that I learned to drive in a Sentra, but even that hasn't endowed me with any sort of warm and fuzzy feeling for Nissan's C-segment contender. It's one of those cars that just goes along making up the numbers without being particularly noteworthy while doing it. The new Sentra is trying to change that wallflower image by adding some bang-up-to-date styling elements like the LED daytime running lights. Although everybody else has got those too, so that won't make it stand out. It is better looking than it's ever been, although it's still not exactly mind-blowing. What it is mildly attractive, with some good lines and interesting elements, but an overall presence that's just on the better side of ordinary. But it is big, and what it does well is manage its proportions with a sleek profile and a firmly planted stance. From some angles, the Sentra does look very modern and quite attractive, but it's no contest winner. The benefit of that size is most obvious in here, where there is space for everyone, from the shoulder room in the front to the legroom at the back to the massive boot. If you had to pick the best thing about this car, it would be the interior, and that's despite the 80s style velour upholstery. Which is quite simply horrendous, the kind of material that is functional rather than any sort of fashionable, the kind of material that will still be acceptable when the Sentra, in another 30 years' time, is being used as a taxi, when all the passengers will care about is that they can't see the stains and that it doesn't have holes in it. Once you put that cloth out of your mind, every other part of the Sentra interior is good. The layout is right, the build quality is solid, and for 230,000 Rand, the spec is good value. Nissan have literally left nothing off the options list with this car, because there is no options list. That means you'll have to do without cruise control, a sunroof and park distance control, but you do get everything else: Bluetooth, USB, aircon, electric windows all round, remote central locking, and a fully adjustable multi-function steering wheel. If you're thinking of saving yourself a bit of money and getting a lower spec Sentra, well, you can't, because there's only one spec level. It's called the Acenta, although if it's the only one, you wonder why they gave it a name in the first place. Engine choices? There's only one, a 1.6 petrol. But when it comes to gearboxes, there is a choice, and it's not difficult, because it's either a 5-speed manual or a CVT. Although that said, the best CVT gearbox I've ever driven was in a Nissan, so it's probably not an entirely bad thing. And neither is the engine. With 85 kilowatts, 154 newton meters and no turbo, it still gives you adequate power up on the reef. What is impressive is the fuel consumption figure we saw without even really trying: 7.6 litres per 100 Ks, which is not far off Nissan's claim of 6.6. As for the rest of the setup, it's comfortable, it's fairly quiet, and despite being bigger than anything else in its class, it's easy to handle. It's just not any amount of fun though. Within 10 seconds of arriving at your destination, you've completely forgotten about the drive, which I suppose is better than having had it annoy you, but still it's quite sad. Sad because it means the Sentra is not a car that will make motoring memories filled with fun and joy. There may be memories of low fuel consumption and how easy it is to use the iPod interface, but as far as the kinds of things that will bring a smile to your face while filling your head with joyful driving thoughts, that's not what the Sentra is about. The Nissan Sentra is not about motoring memories. It's about A to B. It's about the daily commute. It's about giving your mates a lift to the airport. On the upside, it is comfortable, it's got decent power, and it's not an unattractive car. And in pure physical terms, you get more car for your money. For something the size of a Mercedes-Benz C-Class, you're paying the kind of money you would for an entry-level Volkswagen Jetta. The Sentra's 1600 naturally aspirated motor gives it adequate power around town and on the highway, with the fuel consumption being the most impressive thing about it. Despite the velour-style fabric for the seats and other bits, the Sentra is a comfortable and decently spec car with lots of space. Just don't expect too much in the way of fun.